So Konami have added Acceleration Burst Marco Royce as a new legend, and I've just got done playing with the card, so I'm going to give you the best builds and what skills I think need to go on them. And from playing with the card, one good thing about this Marco Royce is that he has great animations for finesse shots, so when we look at the build, you'll be able to see here we do have a lot of curl invested into his card. His passing was also quite good because we got it to 90. He was able to hit them with the outside of his foot very well. His dribbling and pace stats aren't extremely high, but I noticed no issues with his dribbling, and that acceleration burst was particularly effective. But it is very important to get the skills right because this acceleration burst definitely needs skills to complement it well. And I'm recommending a ball carrying booster because it takes the dribbling and tight possession to 90 as well as the balance. So we hit the threshold there. So if we look at his skills, he does start off with a good bunch. He has double touch, his Marseille turn for trying to play him on the left, long range curler for the same reason, knock on finesse, first time shot, one touch pass, and true passing. He's kind of covering pretty much all of his bases except for acrobatic finishing. He definitely needs acrobatic finishing. When you do an acceleration burst, if you take a shot right after the acceleration burst, you don't have acrobatic finishing, it's going to be kind of a weak and loose shot, likely to go off target or maybe hit the post. And I noticed that a lot in my games while using them. And then there was also instances of, despite having first time shot, him missing the first time shot because he had to slide for the ball. So the acrobatic finishing should stop that from happening and allow you to score these pretty straightforward, easy chances. Then after that, I would go for cut behind and turn, solo control and flip flap for the ball roll, and then the solo control will also complement that long range curler if you're playing him on the left. And then for that last skill, I would go for either fighting spirit or long range shooting. Depends really. If you want him to be as effective as possible, go for fighting spirit. It'll help him when he's under pressure from opponents. But if you want to kind of make him more how he was in real life, the long range shooting would boost his finishing from the shots that are further away from goal, of course. So if we just take a look at his positions there, I was using them in a 3-5-2, and I put a position trainer on him to get him into second striker. I felt like at left mid, he just didn't have the kind of physical presence to be extremely effective there. The left mid and right mid in my 3-5-2 are kind of like wing backs, so they need to be up and down the pitch a lot, and he just didn't have the physical prowess for that. At left wing, I assume he'd be very good. And second striker, once I got that position trainer on him, he was quite effective in there. And that acceleration burst is something that I would have assumed you wouldn't have the space to pull off in the middle, but honestly, I found no issues with it. The defenders really don't step in to tackle once you've done the acceleration burst, so definitely a good skill even in the middle of the park. But overall, he was a decent player, but I don't think you need to break the bank for him. Like, he's not going to improve your team if you're someone who's already paid to win and spends money on the game. But if you are a fan of Marco Reus or you're a German or a Dortmund fan, I definitely think it is worth picking up in that case because I do think they kind of made him good enough to warrant how good of a player he was in real life. Okay, so moving on to Shinji Kagawa. I wasn't really the biggest fan of this guy, to be honest. I don't think he's anything special. He is, of course, very agile. If we just go to his build, you can see there that you can get him very nimble with the dribbling and the balance. So he definitely is good at that. But there will be players that are, of course, better, like your Baggios, your Platinis, your Messis, Maradonas. Like, they're already doing this effectively. So there's no real reason to go for this Kagawa. His Showtime skill is momentum dribbling, and I don't really think that's that important of a skill. I think it kind of suits players that are either extremely fast or extremely slow already, or not extremely slow, but if you're in that kind of middle level of dribbling and pace, I don't think you notice it too much. Whereas someone like Vinicius Jr., his momentum dribbling gives him that like extra, elite tier pace, and then someone like Cantona who's a bit slow, it'll kind of boost him up a little bit better. But in the middle here, I don't think momentum dribbling is too effective. But yeah, like if you just look at the card, like it is a good card. But I think if you got this card, let's say you're kind of someone who's new to the game and maybe this is the first pack you're going to spend money on, I would assume you're not going to be using Kagawa for too long. You'd probably be looking for a new AMF soon enough. So I wouldn't go for Kagawa if you want to improve your team. Again, it's more just for if you like Kagawa as a player and you want him specifically because of who he is. For the skills, I would go for Flip Flap first, just because he has double touch and soul control. You can get that ball roll. And then again, I think he needs acrobatic finishing. Similar to Royce, I noticed there was instances where it was just dragging the shots wide and making them a bit weak. So he definitely needs acrobatic finishing. I'd also go for one touch pass, cut behind and turn, and then weighted pass, probably as the last skill. You could put that last skill as fighting spirit again, just to make him a little bit more reliable. But if you want him to be more of a playmaker, weighted pass for the lofted passes particularly would be quite effective. Okay, so the last player is Veron. Now, I didn't get to use this card. I have used his previous Orchestrator, and I liked them a lot. But this one is a box-to-box, which I don't think suits him as much. But when you look at the card, It's definitely possible for a box to box. Now, I still think these are the stats of an orchestrator like that. Very good dribbling, good passing, great balance, agility. What's kind of missing from him for a box to box? Like he has got the defensive stats. Is the speed. Usually, I'd want about 88 to 90 speed on my box to box players. 86, I guess it's not too big of an issue. And if we just look at the card, eFootball database doesn't have it updated. So if you're using an 89 proficiency manager, it's not going to show that +3 on the 84 stats. So the speed in game will actually be 87. So I guess there's no real concern for box to box. I'm sure he will be effective. I think he still would have been better as an orchestrator, but I think he will be good as a box to box. If we just go look at his skills, he's missing quite important ones for centre mid, but he has got a nice variety of skills. So once you put them on, he will be very well rounded. So definitely put on interception 100%, and then track back second. Interception, obviously, you know why, but it's very, very important for centre mids. I wouldn't use centre mids without it. And in track back, pretty similar to interception. I put it on all my midfielders. It'll just help with his defensive AI. It'll get him more involved on the defensive side of things. I'd also go for cut behind and turn, just kind of help him be a little bit more nimble and able to kind of turn quickly in the middle of the park. And then a gamesmanship to complement that as well, just because if he gets pushed over and you're going to lose the ball and then your opponent's going to be in on your defenders, the gamesmanship might bail you out a little bit there. And then for the last skill, it's kind of up to you. If you want to kind of focus on an attacking game, maybe go for a Marseille turn or a double touch. I'm not the biggest fan of double touch in centre mid if it's just a normal version of double touch, just because it's a bit risky. You kind of have to time it very well. And again, you could just lose the ball and then your opponent's going to be running at your back line. Like the ball rolls double touch with double touch flip flap and soul control, that's great in midfield because you can get it. You can effectively use that skill a lot easier. The window for success is a lot wider, but just a normal double touch can be a bit risky. So I'd probably go for Marseille turn or something if you want to be more attacking. But you can also go for man marking on the defensive side. So what man marking does is it basically just means when you press second man press, let's say a player without the skill will track the run or track the player for 5 seconds. For man marking, it might put it up to like 7 or 8 seconds. So it just means defensively you're going to be more switched on and able to put pressure on your opponent. So my overall thoughts on the pack, I think Veron and Reus are definitely effective players. Kagawa, not so much. Veron will be good if you need a box to box. And same with Reus. If you just kind of want an attacking player and maybe you want acceleration burst, he'll be quite good. Remember, this Reus has very good animations for finesse shots, so he's very reliable on that. Should be hitting them more often than not. But my philosophy with packs is you spend rarely and you spend big when you do. So you kind of wait for, if you're waiting for a box to box, I'd wait for Mateus to come out. Now, the next Mateus is going to be a whole player, so you might be waiting a while. You could be waiting 6 or 7 months, but just the way I view it, you should be just kind of going for those type of cards that are elite tier. And then for Reus, you'd probably be better off waiting for a Messi or Platini again, someone like that. If you want a kind of attacking mid, or that Ronaldinho that just came out, definitely a much better whole player than Reus. But like just to kind of emphasize that point about getting the players right, like this Mateus came out about a year ago and he's still usable. I mean, sorry, not usable, still the best player for me in centre mid. Vieira came out a year ago. Roberto Silva came out a year ago. Czech came out a year ago. Tomiyasu a bit longer. Like I'm still using these cards because they're so effective. And then the players that I've got recently, like Maldini and Thuram, I imagine they're going to be in my team again for another year, maybe even more. So on that basis, if you're purely thinking about performance, probably skip this pack. But if you want these players specifically, like Veron, Reus, Kagawa, you like them in real life, then go ahead. I don't think it's a bad idea.